What's good YouTube, and welcome to the house. Team Apps did an amazing discussion on playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is expensive, but why? And I think I have a bit of insight into this that might not have come up in the conversation with some good hard old numbers, and then an example throughout this entire market watch. Yes, we're going to be updating card prices and talking about them in this discussion too, but if you haven't checked out Team Apps in a while, they've really upped their production value, which has always been insane, and they have done an amazing job in this discussion, and I think some healthy back and forth in this community is a good thing. So let's go ahead and just do some quick maths, as it were. So let's say you're busting open a box of Yu-Gi-Oh! For a chance at a secret rare. Well, that's $60 on the hookup if the set hasn't gone insane, if it's not selling out. Now, what's a whole case cost? Well, a whole case is 12 boxes. And why do we bring this number up? Typically, when you buy a case, you're going for a playset, 3 of them things, for every single secret rare in the set, and sometimes those get shorted, so there's not even that in a full amount. So the Konami sealed product cost $720 for a case to try to obtain a playset of secret rares, meaning you are hoping that as a consumer, spending $720 will get you there for the full set. Now, it also means in order for anybody to obtain them, that amount of product must be opened. So typically a chase card becomes worth the value of around the box or greater depending on how short printed it is. Let's say there's only 2 per case. That leads it to end up being about $90 if it's ultra competitive these days. Now, if there's 3 per case, it ends up being around 60, 70, etc. And we've seen with impermanents, it goes up. We've seen with other results, it goes up. But there's other factors into why Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets so expensive. So let's go ahead and start jumping around the market and also bringing up some points that Team Apps went into. When we go into older cards, they end up being bought out. With newer cards, they are typically pretty cheap from the get. Like, we have a decent rarity spread for the Guard Dragon engine themselves, and World Legacy Guard Dragon being one of the more expensive cards, and then your super rares being not so expensive despite being a widely used engine. So why does the Guard Dragon engine get expensive? Well, we have cards from the past that just haven't had a reprint in a very, very long time and are in a very niche side set that, while it got bust opened heavily, it's from years ago, and Red Hot Dragon Archfiend Abyss, or Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, ends up being one of the best options to summon with the Guard Dragon engine, but we're a couple of years past the last Battles of Legend, and the next best option, because the first one is so expensive, ends up being bought out from the budget players, and then it's not budget anymore. So when looking at the Guard Dragon engine, the new highly available cards in high quantity are just there. You can get them readily and pretty budget, but your options, if you weren't ready, if you weren't prepared, if you weren't looking to the OCG to see what's summoned, or you weren't looking to texts from Yugi tubers, guess what? You're kind of out of luck, and you end up caught in the hype wheel of, alright, I have the Guard Dragon engine, this is what I want to play. Yikes, that is freaking expensive. So that's kind of one way that leads down the hole of things being expensive. The second way is something budget will come along. The Soul Burner structure deck, and look at it, it's already over 1.5x MSRP suggested retail, and that's pretty dang crazy. It really sucks to see that, but still, that's $45 to bust open and have most of a competitive strategy. But that means the hot techs, see what I did there? The hot techs for a deck like this, and also the necessary things that are older, ooh, they're gonna start going on up. But even some of the newer things, such as Salmon Great Sunlight Wolf, this is as recent as Savage Strike. This is current, and you're seeing it at $8, $9 because you have to pack it. And in a weird sense, rares are actually harder to get than super rares, believe it or not, because of the ratio pulls for a rare versus supers being in every pack that an ultra or secret is not in. The spread of rares makes it harder to pull, or as hard to pull as super rares. Typically harder, I believe, in sets by the data. So Salmon Great Sunlight Wolf basically has the price of Twin Twisters, despite being locked in one deck from back in the day when there was only one printing of Twin Twisters. So even these cards that were perceived to be budget if you're not ready for the release. You're not ready for the actual demand brought onto the market. Not just hype, but actual demand from tons of players opening something like this up. Other options start to just stack up and stack up. And I think a big role that Yugi tubers try to play is, even without self-interest, trying to get things to their audience. Like me in the community tab here, I figured out Barnes & Noble threw these up late at night, and on my live stream and in the community tab, I'm like, hey guys, you can get these for $8.50, half of market price, no self-interest, and I try to provide the best possible way to order to my community. And I think you had to add 4 or 5 of them, so I just got 6 of these for me and Billy to be able to play with, and I'll probably end up selling the ashes and having, you know, this strategy ready for myself in case I want to attend an IRL event and try this out. But also, playtesting with it is good. Whenever you want to beat a deck, you should play test against it and have it ready. But my point being is, like, there's plenty of ways out there if you're paying attention to people, you're paying attention to shoutouts, that kind of stuff, to not have to pay these kinds of prices. I was shouting from the top of my lungs, pre-order, 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 and scummy sellers started to cancel pre-orders and charge more, and that really sucked. Like, the seller would actually have it listed, they would go, okay, we're canceling and relisting. That is just complete scum. And that happens, though. The people are like that. They try to make the most off of their dollar, whereas, you know, you're not going to be buying from that seller again, no matter how cheap they are in the future, usually. Let's talk more about the good old Salad Boys. Trishula, I didn't know originally, its higher rarities were going up because of Salamangreats, because you can use Psychic Wielder, which is also going up because of its tuner status. So a lot of people point out there's a comment, it does the same thing. Well, it's missing that tuner effect to be able to go into cards like Brio and Trishula, so the higher rarities by both competitive players and collectors who might have been waiting for it to fall out start disappearing immediately off the market, because the competitive players see the viability and they want to make some money, whereas the collectors are like, okay, I've been waiting for this to fall and it's about to start spiking, I better get this for my collection. And it's more the competitive player base overall when it comes out to hollowed out things, but there's still plenty of budget options for Trishula along the market right now. But if you sleep, if you wait, those quantities, they naturally disappear from the demand of people deciding they're going to play it. Right now, there seems to be plenty between all the rarities, but you could see something like, this is actually a great example I don't think I pulled up, that I just thought of. Black Luster Soldier Envoy is a great example of a card that's not even really terrorizing the meta right now, but is in such demand from both people who love the show, who are casual, who might have played GOAT format. It just hits this all-encompassing range of collectability and playability that the lowest copies of Envoy end up being like $8, $10, etc. And there's so many different copies, but it's just over time, they leave the market from natural demand, not even from buyout. So things get expensive because they're old, and then they become in demand, such as Burning Abyss made Black Luster Soldier in demand, and then they never really recover from the market overall. And I think it's a great discussion point they've brought up. They've covered so much more than this, and I'll link their video down below, but they've gotten into this huge, in-depth, long discussion about this, and I've got to give them props. They bring so many different viewpoints on why it's worth it or isn't worth it, why they would pay high for a card or wouldn't pay higher for a card. And like, I think this discussion is really healthy for the community overall when you start looking at why. Like, here's another example, right, of the competitive scene's influence on the market. This isn't up due to collectability and being a jump promo. This is up because it's a negate using the Thunder Dragon Danger Sekka build that Aaron Furman topped with. So the only reason this has gone up is it was semi-collectible, but it's not collectors going up with it. It's that it was played in competitive play, and now people are rushing to get theirs, despite having an under $1 version for just a different rarity. So again, there's now only 14 prices for this, despite 52 of these being listed. Real good deal. This guy's been actually doing a ton of sales lately, but you see sellers like this will eventually sell out of quantities, even though it's a one of in the extra deck, because people might decide to get play sets just in case in the future they want to have trades. They'll think it'll go up. People end up investing in this and start doing that kind of thing because they want to procure their own trades in the future. If they think this is good, they think it's going to go up, they don't want to pay for the game in the future. They want to trade for the game. They work their 9 to 5 and then they make a trade binder, and that's kind of what makes market Market Watch so popular is that everybody has a trade finder. They might see cards that they didn't know went up in value, or know what to trade for if they think something's going to go up, so that they can trade for something they need in the future. That's kind of the point of a trading card game, is that it's self-sustaining after a while if you learn how to make the right calls and the market has enough movement. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely has that freaking movement. Now, look at Super Polymerization. This is a random buyout from last night. The OTS Pack 9 one up towards $7, where it just matches those higher rarities, despite the secret rares looking really clean, being hard to get and old for a lot of them, although Raw Yellow Mega Pack's actually cheaper than the OTS Pack version now. It's just a call by an investor who thinks this might be 5, 6, and they'll get a return on it eventually or in person. And you see, you have the common at 3 and other versions available, yet this is one of the higher rarities, so slurped off the market just because maybe one person decided, not from natural demand, perhaps. And like I said, oh, I did have it pulled up. You look towards all these different aspects of the market. It's how many years has this been without a reprint, and did it just become competitive? And do you want to play that competitive strategy because you were looking forward to it? Maybe it's a tech you didn't know about because you weren't paying attention. You find out, this really helps my core strategy, and then you're stuck in kind of that wheel of looking for that card since it hasn't had a reprint in so long. Thank you so much for watching. Again, check out Team Apps on this video. It will be linked down below, and I think it's an amazing discussion. And let me know what you thought of this spin on Market Watch, kind of a reply to another video. It doesn't happen too often with the segment, but I really think this is an amazing discussion and really amazing quality, so go check them out, and definitely let them know what you think about their video. It's, I think, an amazing discussion. I couldn't help but reply to it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this viewpoint on why cards are so expensive. And as always, you have a good day, and I'll see you on the live stream if you're coming tonight.